Republican Congressman Chris Collins says that he will fight insider trading allegations. The vocal supporter of President Trump faces charges of conspiracy, securities and wire fraud, and making false statements to the FBI. This video, uncovered by CBS News, appears to show the moment Collins tipped off his son Cameron about the inside information. Tony Dokoupil has more.
The charges that have been levied against me are meritless.
Hours after federal prosecutors arrested Republican Chris Collins on accusations of insider trading, the New York representative said he looked forward to being fully vindicated and exonerated.
Throughout my tenure in Congress, I have followed all rules and all ethical guidelines.
According to the indictment, Collins sat on the board and was the top shareholder of Innate Immunotherapeutics, an Australian biotechnology company. Collins was at the White House picnic last summer when the FBI says he got an email from Innate's CEO with, quote, bad news. One of the company's most important products and intended treatment for multiple sclerosis was a clinical failure. Wow, Collins wrote back, according to the indictment, how are these results even possible? Footage uncovered by CBS News appears to show what allegedly happened next. Collins on the phone with his son Cameron, illegally sharing news of the disastrous drug trial. The FBI says Cameron began dumping his shares of the company and passed the tip to his fiancée and her father. When news of the drug failure broke 5 days later, Innate's shares dropped 92%.
Donald Trump is a movement.
Collins was the first congressman to endorse then-candidate Trump. On Wednesday, he became the first congressman to be charged with a crime since Trump's presidency.
Congressman Collins, who, by virtue of his office, helps to write the laws of our nation, acted as if the law didn't apply to him.
There was a lot of suspicious stock trading activity.
Craig Holman is with the advocacy group Public Citizen, which flagged Collins' alleged misconduct early last year.
Suddenly, I suspect many members of Congress are going to start reevaluating whether they want to continue playing in the stock market.
All right, so Tony Dokoupil is at the Manhattan Federal Courthouse here in New York City. Tony, Collins' attorney pointed out that the congressman is actually not accused of trading any stock himself. He kept his stock. He didn't sell it. But what more can you tell us about what prosecutors are alleging about how this inside information spread?
Yeah, that's true. Collins' attorney says the representative did not trade any stock himself. In fact, by most accounts, he lost millions of dollars in the deal. However, that is not what is at issue here in court. The allegations are like this. At the White House picnic last summer, Collins got an email from the CEO of this Australian biotechnology company saying bad news, in fact, extremely bad news. Our promising new drug for multiple sclerosis failed at trial. Collins is on the board, so if he gets this information early, it's not yet public, he has a duty not to trade any of his own stock and this is the important part, not to share that information. However, the FBI says he did share that information. He responded to the CEO saying, how could this be possible? Wow. And then within a minute, according to the indictment and also accusations from the SEC, within a minute, he called his son. They traded phone calls for about 5 minutes, back and forth, 6 consecutive missed calls. Finally, they connect, and we have that picture that we've been circulating, appearing to show the moment when they do actually hold this conversation. That's when the FBI says Collins Sr. passed the information to Collins Jr., who then passed it to his fiancée, who passed it to her parents, who passed it to family friends. And the Collins crew overall was able to avoid, according to the FBI, more than $750,000 in what would have been losses when this information finally did become public. So Collins himself, yes, his attorney says didn't trade any stock and in fact did take a loss here. But what's at issue for the courts is whether Collins shared information illegally and benefited his son, other members of his family, and close friends. Anne-Marie.
So that's just sort of one part of the case against him, because Collins is also charged with making a false statement or false statements to the FBI. Tell us about that part of the case.
Well, the FBI investigated, and we should also point out that the FBI got onto this case after a congressional ethics committee began to look into it and found probable cause that some irregularities had occurred concerning trade in this Australian biotech company. Then the FBI gets involved, And it's one of those classic cases of the FBI agents come to question Mr. Collins and his son Cameron. And they say, no, it didn't happen like you think it might have. Everything happened this way, totally above board, totally fine. And the FBI is now saying, no, we have the digital footprints, we have all the breadcrumbs of evidence, and they lead to a big fat meal that says you committed a crime here, Mr. Collins.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. It certainly looks like there's quite a paper trail between the phone records and the emails. What sort of, penalty?
Yeah, at one point, actually, Anne-Marie, oh.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, at one point in the indictment, there is a phone call detailed where the senior Collins, Representative Collins, is actually on the phone with his son. This is days before the information about the failed drug trial becomes public. And while they're on the phone together, the son is trading 50,000 shares, selling off shares in this soon-to-be doomed biotech stock.
Man, that is what happens in this electronic world, right? You can track everything you do on the computer,
Indeed.
on the phone.
Timestamps all the way down the line.
Exactly. So, look, what kind of punishment could Collins be facing?
If you add up all the charges, and there are 13 counts altogether, he faces as much as 150 years behind bars. That is significant. Now, a lot of people would say, look, he's a white-collar criminal. They never put these guys in jail, but we'll wait and see. What could be more urgent in his mind at the moment is not facing a judge or a jury, but facing voters. Remember, he's running for re-election in Buffalo in November. Anne-Marie?
That is what he says. He says he's not going to take his name off the ballot. Tony Dokoupil, thank you.